So now if you're looking at preparing IIFT, it's essentially a speed test. So these are two areas which one needs to prepare. When you're attempting the 2-hour exam, you're spending a lot less time compared to CAT questions where you mostly have LRs and not DIs. Your DIs are very calculated. These are the sections which will fetch you scores. Without these, you really can't do much in the exam. So everything was on my workplace for the first 10 minutes. Profile sheet, like for IIFT, you have to fill a profile sheet. You could be asked questions on that.
Hi Souvik, thanks a lot for joining us.
It's a pleasure for me.
So you scored 99.46 percentile in IIFT and you're going to join IIFT soon. So first of all, a big congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Firstly, can you tell us a little bit about your education background and then when you started your whole journey towards IIFT?
So I started my MBA preparation in my third year of engineering.
Okay.
So I'm a metallurgical and material engineering graduate from Jadavpur University, Kolkata, in 2018. And post that, I have around 2.5 years of work ex. Almost will be completing 3 years.
Okay.
Now, so this is my third IIFT attempt and fourth year of MBA preparation. So I'm pretty seasoned in this area. And about my profile, I have a 877 profile in terms of academics, 10th, 12th, and graduation. So that's brief about my profile.
Great.
So I joined CRACU for the complete CRACU course for CAT 2019
Okay.
and other MBA entrance exams. And unfortunately, last year I did have calls from a few colleges, but I could not convert them. So I had to prepare again. This year I enrolled for the CRACU crash course, which also covers the entire course from CRACU. I took all the mocks for CAT, SAT, IIFT, and TIS, and that was about my association with CRACU, and also Maruti sir's and Saili ma'am's YouTube sessions are pretty helpful.
Okay.
So I used to be a regular attendant there, and even now I attend some of them, like just for the sake of being in touch with my preparation. So that was my association with CRACU, and for IIFT I took around 15 mocks.
So can you tell us, okay, first let's discuss about your IIFT preparation. How did you prepare for each section of the exam?
So if you ask me about knowledge-based preparation, so quants, DILR, and the RC part, RC and the para jumbles and para summary, this part is pretty similar to CAT. So you don't need to really go and learn or prepare anything new from CAT and other entrance exams. What comes new is the vocabs part,
okay,
GK and grammar. In BA you have GK, vocabs and grammar, and you have GK. So these are two areas which one needs to prepare. So now if you're looking at preparing IIFT, it's essentially a speed test. And it tests how well you can eliminate questions with how well you can choose questions. Right. So the focus should always be on scoring maximum marks with spending minimum time. In that, these three areas, GK, vocabs, and grammar. So these actually take very less time.
Okay.
And yield you a lot of marks. However, these involve a lot of preparation beforehand. Like before the exam, you spend a lot of time for these sections. But if you do that in the entrance exam, when you are attempting the 2-hour exam, you're spending a lot less time. So it makes sense to prepare on these areas before taking the exam.
Right.
And for GK, what I did was I prepared daily current affairs. Okay. So in YouTube, you will find a lot of videos having daily current affairs. So I prepared daily current affairs for November, December, January. The exam was on 24th Jan. So for 3 months, I prepared daily current affairs. I wrote everything down on my notebook. Then I prepared currencies, capitals, country capitals, and names of leaders, and organization logos. So these are questions which are very favorite to IIFT. Even this year they asked about Bhutan's currency.
Right.
So these questions are very very common in IIFT. And you would not believe me, in 5 minutes I fetched 16 marks in the GK section, which fetched me 99.3 percentile in GK. So it is very useful if you can score high in GK. Same goes for vocabs. I got 99.3 in the verbal section, with a overall score of 66. So the VA part played a huge role because this year the interface was not that user friendly. So RCs became a challenge for people. However, RCs are much easier than CAT. And for test taking strategy, one needs to judiciously divide the time. So for me, the first 1 hour or first 50 minutes, not 1 hour, 50 minutes would be GK and verbal. So GK would take 5 minutes and 45 to 50 minutes for verbal. because without verbal in this exam is very difficult to score high. So one needs to focus on these two sections, and then 1 hour 5 minutes or 1 hour 10 minutes divided into two halves for QA and DIL. That was my testing strategy.
So what is a very challenging section in IIFT, and how did you tackle that section?
So before taking the exam, I was strategizing
Okay.
for which section I'll spend how much amount of time. So for that, what I found out was that the most time consuming section is DILR,
Okay.
specifically DI, because IIFT DI is very calculation intensive. So one needs to be very quick with calculations.
Okay.
And so what I found was that this section would take me a lot of time compared to CAT questions where you mostly have LRs and not DIs. Yeah, DIs are very calculative.
Right.
Same thing applies for QA. The questions are not very difficult, but they're very
Okay.
lengthy. So, for example, you can have questions for partnership business. Suppose you will have so many variables. You will take a lot of time to solve a very easy question. So it's about getting your accuracy correct and attempting a certain optimal number of questions. That's how I strategized,
Okay.
and I did well. Like I solved 12 questions in QA, and I got 11 correct,
Great.
fetching me 32 marks. And for DIL, attempted 6 questions, got 5 correct, and I cleared the cutoff there.
Brilliant. So since as you mentioned, IIFT is also a speed-based exam. So did you do anything specific to build your speed?
Yes. So the specific thing is taking a lot of short mocks. Like
Okay.
Kraku's study room has those. So I started doing a lot of short mocks, like
Okay.
those one DI set or
Right.
one or 10 quant questions in very short span of time, and difficult questions. So
Okay.
because DI and quants will be difficult. They won't be easy.
Right. As in what order did you attempt? I think there is no sectional time limit in IIFT. So in what order did you attempt the questions, and how can one come up with the right order in attempting the questions?
Okay. So this one will totally depend from person to person. So for me, I knew BRC was a strong zone, and I
Okay.
spent a lot of time with vocabs and GK.
Okay.
So first 15 minutes to 1 hour would be GK and VRC.
Okay.
GK is 5 to 7 minutes max. It won't take much more time than that. And the next 50-55 minutes for VRC. So, and that has to be a must because these are the sections which will fetch you scores. Without these, you really can't do much in the exam. The next 1 hour, one can divide it into 30-minute halves, one half for DILR, one half for VRC.
Okay.
Ideally, one should, or one can like sort of spend 40 and 20 minutes. Ideally, one should spend less time in quants because quants section cutoff is lower than DILR,
Okay.
and should spend more time in DILR. However, it depends on the person's strength. I spend more time on QA than DILR, but it totally depends on the person to person.
Okay, so apart from IIFT, what other MBA entrance exams did you give, and what do you think is the difference between CAT and IIFT, especially in terms of prep?
Okay, so I took CAT, ZAT, IIFT, TestNet, and
Okay.
I filled the form for PGDBA.
Okay.
Okay, so if you look at knowledge-based preparation, CAT and IIFT have, I mean, the major part of the exam is pretty same.
Okay.
Because if you look at DILR quants, especially quants is pretty similar to CAT.
Right.
You have DILR, you have VRC, you have parajumbles and parasymmetry. These are very much similar to CAT. So after taking CAT, you don't need to like sort of prepare on these areas. What
Okay.
you need to do is prepare on vocabs and GK. And this also helps for ZAT as well because ZAT and
Okay.
IIFT are held pretty close dates. So if you're preparing for GK and vocabs, this helps in ZAT as well because ZAT has these sections as well. So after CAT, one can start with the GK section and also prepare on vocabs. Like word form ADC is a good source for vocabs, or
Right.
you can just go to Google and find a lot of resources there. And of course, taking mocks is important.
Yeah, right. So additionally, apart from CAT, for IIFT, additionally you have to prepare for vocab and GK, right?
Vocab, grammar, and GK.
Okay. So how did you prepare for the personal interview and each stage of the interview?
Okay, so if you look at an IIFT interview, it is pretty similar to any other B school interview.
Okay.
So I had other calls as well. So I started before my IIFT results were out. Now, once my IIFT results were out, what I did was I found 8-9 like-minded people,
Okay.
formed a Telegram group, and every day at 9 we used to sit and write do extempos, and also because VAT was there, we also wrote VATs. Ultimately, VAT was cancelled, but then we did write VAT and took each other's feedback. So I did this for around 2 months, and incidentally, what happened is all 8 of us who did that study group, all of us converted either Delhi or Kolkata.
Oh, that's
Uh,
great.
so that's how we prepared. And also, I took mock interviews. So IIFT generally has a major chunk of its selection process is weightage on the entrance exam score. So this year we had 45%,
Okay.
and 40, and 15% came from past TCADs and
Okay.
diversity points, etc. And the rest 40 points came from PI, VAT, and extempore. So every year the previous years we had IIFT had a GD, but this year because of this online process, GD was not feasible. So that's why everything extempore was conducted. And also they had some technical glitches with the VAT, so it was cancelled afterwards.
Okay.
So it was around it was total evaluation was done out of 90. So 20 for PI, 10 for extempore, and the rest 60 as I told you.
Right. Apart from IIFT, you said you gave other entrance exams. So what other calls did you have, and what all did you convert? And why did you specifically choose IIFT?
Okay, so from CAT I had calls from MDI Gurgaon for their
Okay.
3 courses. I had the CAP, which is a new IIM's call. I had IIM Ranchi's HRM call,
Okay.
and I had IIM Amritsar's call.
Oh,
So like I had and also IIFT, and also I have a test call. I cleared testnet as well.
oh, that's great. Okay.
This HRM, this HRM. So out of these, I converted MBA Gurgaon HRM and IB. I converted all the new IIMs except IIM Udaipur, uh, and I've also converted IIM Amritsar, all the 3 programs. And this interview is yet to be conducted. So that's it. And IIFT Delhi, and IIFT Delhi as well. So. So among the top 10 colleges,
Okay.
if you look at which are my feasible options at my particular at my profile, I saw that MDI, IIFT, and XLRI would be my most go-to options.
Okay.
And IIFT Delhi, having converted IIFT Delhi, it was a no-brainer uh,
Right.
because amongst the other converts, it is the best one which I had. So that's why I chose IIFT Delhi.
Right. Okay. So what were the kind of topics that were discussed during your interview, and how did you tackle them?
Okay, so I had a good 18-minute long interview, out
Okay.
of which out of which 10 minutes was on my work experience.
Okay.
So I had to be very thorough with it, and same for every college whose interview I faced.
Right.
So because I had around 2.5 years of work ex by the time I took the interview. So everything was on my work ex for the first 10 minutes. Then I was not really asked anything from my profile sheet. Like for IIFT, you have to fill a profile sheet.
Right.
You could be asked questions on that, but however, was not asked anything out of that. I was mainly asked questions on my hobbies because I said reading was one of my hobbies. So I was asked questions. I was asked a guesstimate question rather, based on a because I had read about the history of political history of World War II. So I was asked about a guesstimate on that,
Okay.
and also I had a couple of situation-based case study questions which was asked.
Right.
That was about my interview. So profile building varies from the person to person and from their interest. So
Okay.
if you're somebody with a substantial amount of work ex, one should focus on getting some good grasp of their work ex, because if you're explaining about the projects which you handled or the domains which you have worked in, your knowledge will help you to build your profile, like to project your profile as a good profile in
Right.
front of the interviewer panel. However, if you are a fresher, so then you have substantially lesser talking points. So an interview may get random. So you should be very thorough with your current affairs. And the most important part is whatever one should write a profile sheet about themselves before taking the interview. And
Okay.
they should know every line of it, because this is what the interviewers are looking at when
Right.
they are looking at you, and they will ask questions. Even if you don't submit the profile sheet, they will ask questions based on that. So one should be very thorough with those kind of questions.
Right. Perfect. So finally, what are some tips that you'd like to give the IIFT aspirants? Exam tips, as exam preparation tips, as well as the interview preparation tips.
Okay. So for exam preparation, my request would be never do not take GK lightly.
Right. Okay.
People actually take it people think that only clearing the cutoff will help, but one must understand that that is the best return on investment GK can give you. because you're spending a lot of time beforehand. But in 5 minutes, you can score 15, 20 marks. 20 is a full marks. Like you can score at least 12 to 15 marks in 5 minutes, and that is huge in terms of IIFT. And the second thing is strategy is very important. So in my last attempt, not last attempt, in 2018 attempt,
Okay.
IIFT 2018.
Okay.
So what happened was the cutoff was around 33. I scored 37 overall, and DI cutoff was 1.01. I
Okay.
had 15 minutes left in the exam for DI. I could have easily solved 2 questions, cleared the cutoff. I could get even more marks because I got negative in DI.
Oh,
DIL
okay.
at that time, and I did not get the call. So one should strategize very well even before taking the exam, and stick to the strategy. So as much as possible. So for interview preparation, one must understand that IIFT is like any other B school. So should keep it simple. There are 3 areas. If you have WorkX, prepare on your WorkX. ACATs are generally not asked. However, if you are a fresher, you may be asked, maybe on a final year project, because IIFT has a tendency to ask on your projects.
Okay.
So if you have a final year project, if you're a fresher, prepare well on that. And keep your GK very strong, because GK is even the extempore. In the extempore, they ask questions which are very GK heavy.
Okay.
So your GK should be very thorough, and you should be able to think on your feet. So questions pertaining to that, case studies and guesstimates may be asked. That's all I can say about the interview. And about doing MBA in the COVID scenario,
Right.
if you are doing it from the top 30 B schools, it does not really matter much. So you can do it. Opportunities will be there, though hiring numbers are less, but
Right.
doesn't matter much.
Brilliant. So thank you so much, Souvik. You shared some very valuable tips for the IIFT aspirants. So thanks a lot, and all the best for your journey to IIFT.
Thank you, yeah, and all the best to crack you as well. So it
Yeah,
was a very
thank you so much.
good experience for me.